Welcome back to another Haven't Read It. As promised, some malicious compliance stories today. Title of the first story, I Guess You Like Paperwork. So background, I work in U.S. Customs Compliance, which, due to the current administration, is annoyingly unstable. Tariffs are being changed left and right, as well as the definitions of what products count as what kind of products or materials being classified as specific exemptions. It's a mess. However, there is this thing called duty drawback that ended up being a big deal at my company. To really water it down, if Company A imports products to the US but then immediately ships it to, say, Canada to their franchise stores, Company B, then technically Company A was simply a stop en route and not the ultimate receiver. Company B pays taxes called duty on the product, but because Company A also pays taxes, Company A is due a refund for the duty paid, hence duty drawback. So after months of chasing down this information going back 5 years, learning we had holes in the info, trying to patch that up, trying to figure out the math, making it accurate, finding errors, etc., up to 16-hour days because someone promised we could get this done in 2 months when we needed 5. And weekends tornadoed by work calls, we finally submitted the application. And it worked. We got a great return, but because we missed the deadline by a day and it was a rocky process, my boss was let go over poor performance and missed opportunities. Never mind the fact that this project was his idea and he was the one who got it rolling in the first place. Oh my goodness. And then the higher-ups decided that they wanted records of everything covered. Not digital though. That's not official enough. Printed in binders with official letterhead. Sealed and signed, if you would. Well, my boss's supervisor, who was covering his desk, came to us livid at the extra work we had to do and said, "They want paperwork? They get paperwork. Find the biggest binders you can find and put everything on hold until they get what they want. And just to make sure they see everything, print it single-sided." So far, we have about 3,600 pages printed, hole punched by yours truly, stuffed into 6 binders, and that got us through June of year 1 of 5. The binder pile is 3 feet tall already, and I get to do more of that when I get back to work. Compared to what I've been through recently, this is practically a vacation, and today I finally got the response. When I came into work, all 6 binders were missing, and I came to find out that my new boss had taken them to the higher-ups without us. She apparently marched right over to the executive's office and dropped all 6 binders on the desk without a word. This is paraphrasing, but this is what she relayed to us afterwards. "What is this? The records you asked for? Ah, good, now, the first 6 months? The what? Of the first year of 5. My boss then described in absolute glee how the executive sat there sweating as she continued to explain that she was glad that she would get such important work in the middle of the tariff changes and the policy updates. And she was so happy the executive was willing to store all the records, which prompted the executive to ask why they were being stored in his office. Well, that's when he was reminded that, due to digital supremacy, our off-site storage for file retention has been drastically reduced last year. He asked for the rest of the files in PDF. We couldn't stop laughing quietly on our way back to our desks. Vacation over, I guess. Top comment says, "What an utter shit show." OP says, "Oh, in spades." Second top comment, "You're going to make me miserable?" Oh, we're all miserable down here. OP says, "Sharing the love." Someone says, "It's somewhat disappointing that you did not print out everything before going up." OP says, "I wanted to, and we had the binders ready, but I think the 3 feet taller paper and plastic still got the point across." Geez, I can't even imagine how heavy that was. I only lifted one at a time. And someone, of course, does the math. A case of basic copy paper, 5,000 sheet, weighs somewhere between 50 and 60 pounds. This was about 3/4 of a case worth of paper, so roughly 40 pounds. Second story of the day. "Sorry, sir, you can't enter your building." A few years ago, I worked armed security at a hospital. The Greater Health System owned 3 large hospitals, each with a 24-hour trauma center. It had a couple smaller county hospitals and dozens of clinics scattered across 3 states. I worked at one of the bigger hospitals in a bad part of town. There were legitimate security threats on a daily basis here. One day I was told to stand at the main entrance and keep staff out. I say, huh? Apparently some middle management person wrote a new policy that staff members are to enter and exit the building through the west entrance only. The main entrance was to be used by patients and guests, and they didn't want employees cluttering the main entrance, because God forbid people see medical staff upon entering a hospital. My task was to stand at the door and tell nurses, doctors, cafeteria staff, facilities, janitors, etc. to use the west entrance. Anyone who refused had their name written down and would be reprimanded later. Now, I had other shit to worry about, like EDPs fighting people in the ER, or people running onto the helipad and taking a selfie with the life flight patient, or dudes on PCP yelling at the wheelchairs. Or the old woman with dementia just wandered off and can't find her room. You know, actual security problems. The main entrance posting was a waste of my time, and it dragged on for several days until one day, a man wearing a suit leading a gaggle of important people, all in business attire. The ringleader had an employee ID badge and was speaking enthusiastically to the group. They were heading straight for the main entrance. Sorry folks, gotta use the west entrance. What? Hospital policy, all employees must use the west entrance. We're going to use this entrance, as he points to the door. Okay, but I'll need to take your names down. Your supervisor will be informed. Ringleader stares at me like the biggest idiot alive and holds his badge in front of my face for an uncomfortably long time. I took his name down and every single member of his gaggle with painful slowness. I should add, they were all very polite despite the obvious lack of fucks to give. Shortly after, the security supervisor arrives. How's it going? Not bad. I had a dozen or so names. And I show him the list. Supervisor, is that, he points to the ringleader's name? I don't know. His badge said Chief something officer. He looked important. Chief Executive Officer. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Supervisor quickly walks away. It turns out the CEO of the health system was bringing a group of potential investors, the aforementioned gaggle, for a tour of the place. He was never informed of the main entrance policy change and was greatly embarrassed to be stopped at the entrance of his own hospital by some rent-a-cop. Suddenly, as if by magic, staff could use the main entrance again, and I could return to actual security work. Top comment says, Chief something officer. My office does have an actual CSO, and I'm now going to be very tempted to think of this initialism for it. Chief slacking officer, someone says. Second top comment, the flip side of you not stopping the CEO is you get fired for not enforcing policy, so good job. Third top comment, as someone who grew up with free healthcare and worked in a hospital for the last 14 years, it's so weird that you can be the CEO of a hospital. Good job on sticking dumb policies in a big boss's face. Next top comment says, bro riding up the CEO of the company is such a power move. Someone responds, your healthcare CEO got off easy. Oh no. Someone says, honestly, if I was an investor, I would be impressed that you were upholding security policies for everyone. And the best response to this is not a security policy. Having employees use a side door does not affect security. That is so true. Next story, be careful what you scream for. I work as a support manager for a company that sells credit card readers and other services for processing money. Our story starts with a phone call that one of our newest staff members received. The caller does not introduce themselves and instead loudly demands to speak with no less than the CEO of the company and will not give any information aside from his repeated demands and some indirect swearing. Normally, this would earn them a terminated call, but I want to know who has the balls to scream at my staff, so I have him transferred over. Having had some of these calls before, I introduce myself with a very fancy title and assure the caller that whatever his support needs are, I can handle them without any issue. The CEO is busy at the moment, and I am next in line in the support organization. This is not entirely true, but it works to calm people down and get them to tell me what is actually wrong. The caller is named Steve. Not just any Steve, mind you, but Steve, the owner of Steve's Cafe. And not just one Steve's Cafe, mind you, but the owner of all 7 Steve's Cafes. Steve is offended that he was given to me and not the CEO like he demanded. He is the owner, you see, and needs to talk to my owner, not me. I don't own 7 cafes and I certainly don't own my company, so I can't understand Steve's needs and can't make the hard choices he needs made. I again assure him that I do have the position and authority to do anything that he requires. I am the manager of the support department. I can make any changes he requires. I can set up new accounts or order new devices. Anything. He only needs to tell me what his problems are, and I will provide solutions. I will support him. The words are immediate and aggressive. Can you cancel my accounts? Well, yes I can. I inform him that we need a written request to cancel. I also try to inquire why he needs to cancel his accounts. This is standard procedure. If he wants to close his accounts, then we close his account. But any feedback is useful. Is he leaving because our product was bad? Because our service was bad? Because he found a better deal? But before I get a few words out, he shouts again, have the CEO call me. He has my number. And he disconnects. I report this up the chain. No email means no cancellation. But still, bosses need to know. The first thing next morning, I get invited to an emergency meeting by the CEO, as well as a few other pertinent admins. We go over what happened, then I am shown an email. Steve managed to find the CEO's internal email address and sent him an email complaining about one of his 7 stores having a horrible time with the product. He is demanding no less than a cancellation of all his accounts and a refund for 3 months of payments he has made for each, as the product is totally unusable. I checked the logs. The problem location does indeed have a problem. That started yesterday morning. They are not down, but they are having a bad time. There are no emails or calls informing us, just a screaming cancellation request. I sent over the call logs and we listened to Steve scream and curse at the support agent before he got sent to me. And then I hear 2 words that cue to malicious compliance. Cancel them. The meeting goes quiet. The CEO has spoken. We cancel all 7 accounts and shut down services. They start their day with devices that do not work. The calls come in. Again, the CEO speaks. The account is canceled. Follow procedure. So each manager calls me frantically explaining that nothing is working. The staff apologetically tell them that their account was canceled per their owner's email. We can no longer provide support. Shortly thereafter, the owner calls in, once again screaming to turn them back on. Uncancel them this instant. Get the devices working. He is losing money. I check with the CEO, and after receiving a nod, I say, per your request made over the phone yesterday and your email this morning, your accounts have been canceled. Steve just gets mad and says he didn't mean to actually cancel them. He just wanted to let us know what would happen if we didn't fix his issue. He continues to yell. I let the CEO know, and at his request, I transfer Steve to his office phone. I wish there was a satisfying ending to the story, but Steve and our boss talked. Steve was informed that his behavior was unacceptable. Steve admitted that he was expecting expedited service and possibly a discount when he threatened to cancel. He didn't really want to cancel his accounts. He just wanted support to take him seriously and transfer him up the chain so he could get faster, better service. There was really no apology, though both I and the initial support agent were told that Steve would behave himself from now on and to report if he didn't. Services were resumed and all 7 locations were opened a bit late. The one location that did have issues yesterday got on the phone with the support agent and were sorted out in a reasonable amount of time. All is right in heaven and earth. But I do hope Steve learned that threatening to cancel your account sometimes leads to you canceling your account and not a discount. Top comment says, can you imagine how much it must suck to work for Steve? Someone says, worse yet, can you imagine how much it must suck to be married to Steve? Someone else responds to that saying, worse still, can you imagine how much it must suck to be Steve? Someone says, I'll do you one better. What is Steve? Someone else responds to this comment, she'll be overweight and have at least 2 live, laugh, love signs at home. Someone else says, she owns at least 1 massive strap-on. Second top comment, yeah, I'm a bit of an asshole. I would have left them canceled and told Steve to pound sand. I'm sure one of the competitors could get his stores up and running in a week or so. Maybe. Fuck around and find out. Someone responds, I find it is totally valid to fire customers. Did it in the past. Got kudos from other customers. Someone responds, don't fire them. This is bad PR. Instead, promote them to permanent former customer status. Promoting outwards. Next top comment says, 7 locations that can't process payments, which in many cases means that they cannot collect on the bill. For even a couple hours is quite the a-hole tax. Someone responds, I would have added an additional fee to his contract when he wanted to uncancel, maybe an extra 0.1% of each sale locked in for a year. Someone says, must have been a healthy income for the CEO not to tell him to kick rocks. I would have banned him as a customer. Someone says, I like to imagine that the CEO quietly, calmly, and viciously raked Steve over the coals, gently yet inexorably shoving humble pie down his throat, forcing him to gaze deep into the abyss of no point-of-sale devices at his 7 cafes, and teaching him a thing or two about conducting business. I like this comment. I appreciate you for writing this, OP, but we are here for justice. Give us a false ending where you bought out his stores and set him on fire, or something exciting. Last story of the day, if that's what you want. I'm retired and work at the food market part-time. I enjoy the work, have fun with coworkers, but there's one particular worker who's also part-time, was a department manager at one time, not old enough for retirement. Anyway, he's a braggart. Could go on, but my malicious compliance comes in when the braggart goes in the stockroom for product. The product he needs is covered by other items. Instead of placing the items he doesn't need on a cart, he throws them on a pallet with other products. My gripe is someone has to remove them to get to what they're working on. No one says anything to him, they just shrug it off. I confronted him when he did it to me. He laughed it off. I told him point blank what he is. Oh, he's also buddy-buddy with store manager. Well, one day, he's doing his thing, products on the floor, etc. I mentioned to my supervisor about his actions. He shrugged it off. I tell him I guess I'll show the store manager. My supervisor said no, let it go. That gives me something to do when I'm finished. Then I'll go to the stock room to sort products. So now when I go to the storeroom and what I need is covered by the braggart's actions, I tell my supervisor I can't get it. I refuse to do double work. You'll have to get it. By the way, I don't care about getting fired. I'll walk out. So far, he picks up after the braggart. We'll post updates. Also, other coworkers keep quiet. This isn't malicious compliance. Just FYI, if you're working, you're not retired. OP says, I guess, but collected SS and pension. Just works for fun and activity. Second top comment. Just go show the store manager like you originally wanted to. Unless fucking with your direct manager is what makes getting through your shift bearable, lol. OP says, doesn't worry me, I'll walk out. Document, and take pictures to show what's happening. The braggart has quiet quit and is just counting the days to retirement, with his buddy, the store manager, backing him up. Next top comment says, LOL, I'm retired too and have my medical covered. I wouldn't give two shits about confronting the braggart, and if the supervisor wants to clean up after him, it wouldn't be my problem. As long as I'm not doing extra work, I wouldn't care. OP says, yes, I'll refuse and walk out. There's plenty of jobs for us old guys. Not anymore. I guess there is if you're getting underpaid at a grocery store. The next top comment says, this is like the opposite of malicious compliance, like regular non-compliance. Someone says, 100% agreed. I was waiting for the delicious malicious compliance to kick in, and it didn't. Someone says, anyone who complains you went over their head to upper management is just salty that they got caught being lazy. I love this comment. Paragraphs can be your friend. I agree with this comment. So where's the compliance part? All I get is someone half-assing their job. Thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, live, laugh, learn, love, play, procreate, co-create, excrete, and I'll see you in the next one.